I am Dr. Padmaja Pote, consultant obstetric and gynecologist. First, I would like to thank Nagpur Obstetric and Gynecology Society for giving me this opportunity. My topic is acute pelvic inflammatory disease. Pelvic inflammatory disease is one of the most common infection in non-pregnant age of reproductive age group. It is associated with long-term sequelae like infertility, chronic pelvic pain, ectopic pregnancy. Recent data analysis by CDC shows that there is decline trend in incidence of pelvic inflammatory disease from 1985 to 2001 from 68% to 47%, and this decline is due to there is improvement in etiology, pathogenesis and diagnosis of pelvic inflammatory disease. In this topic, I will include definition, epidemiology, risk factors, microbiology, pathology, stages, clinical features, clinical diagnostic criteria and management. Pelvic inflammatory disease is a spectrum of infection and inflammation of the upper genital tract organs from vagina or cervix associated with ascending spread of organisms typically involving uterus, fallopian tubes, ovaries, pelvic peritoneum and surrounding structures. In this, infection travels from vagina along the mucosa of cervix causing cervicitis, then to uterus leading to endometritis. Then it spreads to tubes by ciliary motion leading to salpingitis, oophorytis, tubo-ovarian abscess, and in severe cases infectious material that is exudate spreads through femoral end leading to local and generalized peritonitis. Epidemiology, incidence of acute pelvic inflammatory disease is inaccurate due to inaccuracy in diagnosis. In 1 to 2% of cases, it is 1 to 2% per year in a sexually active woman. Spontaneous infection occurs in 85% of sexually active reproductive age group. 15% cases are iatrogenic and the procedure involved are endometrial biopsy, uterine curettage, insertion of IUD, hysterosalpingography. 2/3 of cases are in young women of 25 years and 1/3 are among 30 years or older. What are the risk factors? Mainly menstruating teenagers, multiple sexual partner, absence of contraceptive pills use, previous history of acute pelvic inflammatory disease, IUCD users, lower socio-economic status, husband or sexual partner with urethritis. There are some protective factors. In this, contraceptive practice, barrier methods like condoms, diaphragms with spermicides, they prevent this infection. Oral steroidal contraceptives by producing thick mucus plug, preventing ascent of sperm and bacterial penetration. Decrease in duration of menstruation due to oral contraceptive pills creates a shorter interval of bacterial colonization of the upper tract. And other protective factors include pregnancy, menopause and vaccines like hepatitis B and HPV vaccination. Previously till mid 1970s, pelvic inflammatory disease was considered as etiological, but now it is proved as it is polymicrobial in nature. The organisms involved are primary organisms. These are mainly sexually transmitted ones. These include 30 to 80% of cases N gonorrhea. Chlamydia trachomatis constitutes 20 to 40% and combination of these two organisms constitutes 25 to 75% and 10% of cases Mycoplasma hominis. Secondary organisms, these are mainly present in vagina. These are divided into aerobic and anaerobic. Aerobic organisms are non-hemolytic streptococci, E. coli, group beta streptococcus, staphylococcus. In anaerobic, bacteroids, that is Peptostreptococcus and Peptococcus. This is a slide showing gram strain of Neisseria gonorrhea. These bacteria are diplococci with polymorphonuclear leukocytosis. Stages of pelvic inflammatory disease are depend upon the severity of the disease. Stage 1 is acute salpingitis without peritonitis. Stage 2 is acute salpingitis with peritonitis. Stage 3 is acute salpingitis with superimposed tubal occlusion or tubo-ovarian complex. Stage 4 is ruptured tubo-ovarian abscess and stage 5 is tubercular salpingitis. Clinical features include symptoms like triad of pelvic pain, cervical motion pain and adnexal tenderness. Patient presents with bilateral lower abdominal and pelvic pain. patient is feverish, lassitude and headache. They may have irregular and excessive vaginal bleeding, abnormal vaginal discharge which becomes purulent or copious, nausea and vomiting and dyspareunia. In severe cases, patient present with Fields-Hughes-Curtis syndrome that includes pain and discomfort in right hypochondrium due to concomitant perihepatitis. It may occur in 5 to 10% of acute salpingitis. It is due to transperitoneal spillage of infected material to peritoneum. Signs include temperature more than 38.3 degrees Celsius, patient present with dehydration and coated tongue. Per abdominal examination shows tenderness in both iliac fossa, liver may be enlarged and tender due to perihepatitis. Per speculum examination shows congested cervix with purulent discharge. Per vaginal examination shows abnormal vaginal discharge, congested external urethral meatus or openings of Bartholin's glands. Bimanual examination shows fornical tenderness and thickening or mass which fade through the fornix. This is a slide showing copious vaginal discharge, coming through cervical os in cases of chlamydia and gonococcal infection. Now we will see clinical diagnostic criteria according to CDC 2010. In minimal criteria, it includes lower abdominal tenderness, adnexal tenderness and cervical motion tenderness. Additional criteria includes oral temperature more than 38.3 degrees Celsius temperature, mucopurulent cervical or vaginal discharge, abundant WBCs on saline microscope of cervical secretions, raised C-reactive proteins and ESR, laboratory documentation of positive cervical infection with gonorrhea or trachomatis. Definitive criteria includes histopathologic evidence of endometritis on biopsy. Imaging study, mainly in this transvaginal sonography and MRI, there is evidence of thickened fluid-filled tubes with or without tubo-ovarian complex and laparoscopic evidence of pelvic inflammatory disease. Investigation. In this, identification of organisms by gram stain and culture is important. For this, samples are collected from discharge from urethra or Bartholin's gland, cervical canal and pus from the fallopian tubes during laparoscopy or laparotomy. Now, hematological investigations. These include total leukocyte count which shows leukocytes more than 10,000 per cubic mm, elevated ESR more than 15 mm per hour. Serological tests for syphilis should be carried out for both partners in all cases. Ultrasonography shows dilated and fluid-filled tubes, fluid in the pouch of Douglas or adnexal mass which are suggestive of pelvic inflammatory disease. Cultocentesis. In this, aspiration of peritoneal fluid and its white cell count, if exceeds 30,000 per ml, is significant in acute pelvic inflammatory disease. Bacterial culture from the fluid is not informative because of vaginal contamination. This is a slide showing anechoic lesion which represents hydrosalpinx. This is the X-ray of hysterosalpingogram with right-sided hydrosalpinx. Laparoscopy, it is a gold standard and most reliable aid to support the clinical diagnosis. Laparoscopic findings are also depend upon the severity of the disease. In mild cases, tubes are edematous, erythema may be present but no purulent exudate and are mobile. In moderate cases, purulent exudate from the femoral ends and tubes are not freely movable. In severe cases, pyosalpinx, inflammatory complex or abscesses may be present. Voilin string-like adhesions in the pelvis and around the liver suggest chlamydial infection. This is the slide showing laparoscopic finding of Voilin strings-like adhesions. In these perihepatic adhesions usually associated with pelvic, gonococcal or chlamydial infection like in Fields-Hughes-Curtis syndrome. We have to differentiate acute pelvic inflammatory disease from appendicitis, ruptured ectopic pregnancy, torsion of ovarian cysts, endometriosis, diverticulitis, urinary tract infection. Complications. There are immediate and late complications. In immediate complication, local or generalized peritonitis may occur. In late cases, dyspareunia and infertility. If there is one episode of acute pelvic inflammatory disease, chances of infertility are 12%. In 2 episodes, 25%. In 3 episodes, it is 50%. Other late sequelae are chronic pelvic inflammation, adhesions or hydrosalpinx, pyosalpinx or tubo-ovarian abscess. Treatment. Essential steps in the prevention are community-based approach to increase public health awareness. Prevention of sexually transmitted diseases with the knowledge of healthy and safer sex. Liberal use of contraception. Routine screening of high-risk population. The principles of therapy are to control the infection energetically, to prevent infertility and late sequelae, and to prevent reinfection. Now we will see CDC recommended treatment regimens for oral therapy of acute pelvic inflammatory disease. This include regimen A and regimen B. First we will see regimen A. In this, levofloxacin 500 mg once a day for 14 days or ofloxacin once a day 400 mg for 14 days with or without metronidazole 500 mg twice a day for 14 days. In regimen B, in this single dose of cephalosporin parenterally is given and other antibiotics are orally. In this, ceftriaxone 250 mg intramuscularly in a single dose with doxycycline 100 mg orally twice a day for 14 days, or ceftriaxone 2 gram intramuscularly single dose and probenecid 1 gram orally single dose with doxycycline 100 mg orally twice a day for 14 days with or without metronidazole 600 mg orally twice a day for 14 days, or other parenteral cephalosporins, third generation cephalosporins like cefotaxime with doxycycline 100 mg twice a day orally for 14 days with or without metronidazole 500 mg orally twice a day for 14 days. Now we will see CDC recommended treatment regimens for parenteral therapy. In this again regimen A and regimen B. First we will see regimen A. In this, injections cefoxitin 2 gram intravenously every 6 hours with doxycycline 100 mg orally or intravenously every 12 hours. Parenteral therapy may be discontinued 24 hours after a patient improves clinically, and therapy with doxycycline 100 mg orally twice a day for 14 days should be continued. When there is tubo-ovarian abscess, clindamycin or metronidazole with doxycycline should be given. Then regimen B. In this, clindamycin 900 mg intravenously every 8 hourly, and gentamicin intravenously or intramuscularly 2 mg per kg of body weight followed by maintenance dose of 1.5 mg per kg every 8 hourly. Parenteral therapy may be discontinued 24 hours after a patient improves clinically. Continuing oral therapy should consist of doxycycline 100 mg orally twice a day or clindamycin 450 mg orally 4 times a day for 14 days. There are some indications for hospitalization of patient according to CDC 2006. Patient should be admitted when there is suspected tubo-ovarian abscess, severe illness, vomiting and temperature is more than 38.3 degrees Celsius. Uncertain diagnosis where surgical emergencies cannot be excluded like in appendicitis. Unresponsive for outpatient therapy for 48 hours. Intolerance to oral antibiotics. Coexisting pregnancy, and patient is known to have HIV infection. Indications of surgery include generalized peritonitis, pelvic abscess and tubo-ovarian abscess which does not respond 48 hours to antimicrobial therapy. Follow-up of the patient should be done in the following manner. Repeat smears and culture from the discharge are to be done 7 days after the full course of treatment. The tests are to be repeated following each menstrual period until it becomes negative for 3 consecutive reports when the patient is declared cured. Abstinence should be practiced by patients until she is cured and her sexual partner have been treated and cured. Then what is take home message? Acute pelvic inflammatory disease is a polymicrobial in nature as the symptoms are non-specific. Over-treatment is preferred to misdiagnosis. Reproductive health education to be given to young girls. Importance of menstrual hygiene to be reinforced. Maintain healthy sexual behavior. Fallopian tubes ultimately bears the brunt of acute infection. Use of contraceptive methods like barrier and OCs is important. Male sex partners of women who have pelvic inflammatory disease should be examined and treated. This is all about my topic. Thanks for patient hearing. Thank you.